So first of all, I want to find out about HOI. Let's find the HOI patch. Oh, it's a beta patch. Okay, 1.11.5. Tanks are 25 to 30% cheaper. That's really interesting. Let's find out more. So what I want to do is try and build this tank that I built before and see how the stats vary. This is the best fair test I can actually do to illustrate how tanks are moving. So this is free. Oh, wow. They're all cheap. Amazing. Bogey, rivet. So riveted armor now is free. And so is welded. Making riveted completely useless. Riveted armor now is completely pointless. There are no benefits to it. So you never want to do riveted. I don't like it when they have no incentive to go for older technology. I feel like it should always be an incentive to go for the older stuff. So this has a production cost of 8.7. So it has a production cost of 8.7. This is 11.5. Wow, that's so much cheaper. Almost 2 production points cheaper. The speed, though, isn't as fast. That's really interesting. So they've nerfed some of the stats. The reliability is the same. The soft attack is the same. The hard attack is the same. The piercing is the same. The hardness is the same. The armor is way higher. Way higher. Tank speed are lower, but armors are higher. Breakthrough is higher now. Wow. Defense is the same. Air attack's the same. Fuel usage is the same. But there's just no incentive for riveted anymore. There's no incentive. There is for cast armor. You could argue cast has slightly better stats. That production cost is very painful. I like the fact that cast exists. It's like when money becomes no object because your production is so high, why not go ham? This is not actually, in my personal opinion, as optimized as it should be. This is the most optimal, the improved autocannon. So let's put the autocannon on it. So the reason we go for the autocannon is it's the best bang for your buck. The best amount of soft attack you get out of it. And the best production costs in comparison to soft attack. I personally think your 3-man turret's actually way forward too. But then the production cost is going up a bit, so... you win some, you lose some, you know? I made quite a few videos when No Stubback came out, saying there's just not much incentive to make tanks because infantry, artillery are still stupidly strong. And I think the right thing to do is to buff things that are weak, not nerf things that are strong. And they've done exactly the right thing here. What's the cheapest tank we can make then? So this is the interwar chassis, 1 turret. Oh, you really don't ever want to be making machine guns. Machine guns are so bad. Why would I ever want wheeled suspension now? Because bogey suspension is free, wheeled suspension has no purpose now. Wheeled suspension was an alternative that was cheaper. Yeah, so this is useless now. Absolutely no use. The cheapest tank you can get is a production cost of 3. That's insane if you think about it. What can we conclude from this? What do we lose and what do we gain from this? I guess we do the ultimate comparison, I guess, don't we? We make a 7-2. I understand, not the combat worth meta. I understand, chill, relax, take a deep breath. I understand that is not meta. And then we make a tank division, which is also at 12 width. So all we want to do here, guys, is just say that what we're trying to find out, is it cost effective now to make a tank that's 20 width in comparison to a 7.2 from the past? Now, just a disclaimers. 1, I understand this is not meta because combat width of 20 is not meta anymore. I understand that. This is just to illustrate a point. We want to look at the main 2 stats. 1, the production cost. And the second one we want to look at is the amount of soft attack that these divisions deliver. So first of all, we've got a 7.2 which has 97 soft attack. Obviously a lot of defense because infantry are fantastic at defense. And because it's infantry, it does a lot better attacking into more difficult terrain types, such as mountains, such as marches, such as rivers, etc., where tanks don't do as well. The main highlights here is the soft attack values are very high, the defense is high, and the production cost is measly, 550 to 600. Let's look at a medium tank. So the production cost of this one is about the value of 4, 5, 6 infantry. So one of these is the value of 4, 5, 6 infantry. So the soft attack value is about 50% more. Breakthrough is like 4 times, 5 times more. We've got armor, which is a fantastic stat too, as long as they don't get pierced. We get tiny bit more speed. We have significantly less HP, less organization, and as you'd imagine, defense is half. I think tanks are more viable now. I think my theory on cheap tanks, though, wasn't true. Unless you're a minor power and you don't have a lot of production costs, I don't ever think it's going to be effective to make tanks that are 1, slow, and 2, cheap. I think if you're a major power, you have the ability to unlock everything and go crazy. Tanks for around about 20 to 30% cheaper. It makes it more viable now not to spam 7.2s or whatever variation of 7.2s because of their cost effectiveness. So the reason why 7.2s have been a meta for such a long time prior to No Step Back is they're cheap, and therefore, like Torior's videos, no disrespect to Torior, but every single video, he spams artillery infantry, whether it's 7.2s or some variation on that, whatever. But he does that every video, and the reason why he does that is because infantry artillery are incredibly cost effective. They're universal, they work in all terrain types mostly, and also they're very, very, very cheap for the amount of firepower they output. So it was the question, since No Step Back, what's the point of making tanks? They're more expensive, they require fuel, they have bigger terrain penalties. What's the point of making something more expensive that doesn't tend to outperform infantry artillery as effectively? Yeah, the reason why they made them cheaper is so now we have something that's more competitive. And I think right now we are reaching a point where I'm more competitive. I think it's really important to talk about where you use tanks most effectively. Infantry tend to be spread out across the full front line, just to fill out the front line to stop the AI or a player from running into you and therefore overrunning your front line. So when it comes down to like the meta of infantry divisions, people tend to go for smaller divisions overall, and having a division that's particularly weak, not very strong, like a not very big division, is better at holding one province than leaving it empty. So for the most part, making smaller infantry divisions is viable. They're not very good at attacking. To be honest, they're not really that good at defending either, but they will hold ground and they will prevent you from the AI from moving forward. Now, when it comes down to tanks, though, I feel like the larger the division, the better. So when it comes down to tanks' purpose, it is to push through enemy front lines and make encirclements and make breakthroughs. And with that in mind, it's more important to go for a division that's larger because it has more firepower, it has better stats, and therefore it has that extra bite to it to actually do some pretty sweet damage. This would be a fantastic division to push and break the front line with. Talking about single player, not multiplayer here. I honestly don't play multiplayer, so I don't understand the multiplayer meta. Penalties are not a problem if you get flame tanks. Very true. It's like a 20% bonus into terrain types if you get the flame tank. I don't like to be the one who decides the meta. I think there are more intelligent people out there who decide the meta and therefore take it and actually practically use it in multiplayer games to show that it is the most effective tactics possible. But I say this, and I mean it. Are you ready for this? Flame tanks are meta. There you go, I said it. So flame tanks are unlocked behind Engineer 2 here. And the reason why flame tanks are meta is they add a massive terrain attack bonus based on certain terrain types. 25% extra attack into force? That's amazing. 20% to jungle is amazing. 20% to urban is amazing. 50% forest is good too. So I'm very confident to say that flame tanks are the meta. And I think the way you cheese flame tanks is you get a crappy interwar. You make it as cheap as humanly possible. So 3 production costs for a flame tank. That's insane. And then at that point, I guess you can add on your flame tanks. And therefore the penalties for attacking certain more difficult terrain types is severely less. Flame tanks are just a way of cracking open more difficult terrain types. That's all it really is. I think at the end of the day, you're probably just better off adding on a really shitty interwar flame tank as support just for the extra bonuses. Anyway, I back up my previous point. I think infantry divisions, you could be flexible with the size of them. But when it comes down to tank divisions, I think bigger is always better. Guarantee from a Twitch streamer now, guys, is that I will say I will love you, and I'll promise you eternal love whenever you subscribe. No other streamer offers you this. Pokimane may offer it you, but she's lying. She's a liar. Tommy will say it, and then in the later stream he'll say he hates Twitch chat. I don't. I always love Twitch chat. I love you. I love you.